Reporting from CNN News, I'm Hannah Rodriguez.
And I'm Anna Titus, here to inform you about crime within the media.
As many of you have already heard of the incident that happened between police officer Shank and a young black male named Jonathan Dawson this past week. This occurred October 10th, 2017, within the city limits of Detroit, Michigan.
A white male officer pulled over a young African-American male that was 18 years old. He was pulled over for a taillight that went out on his car. The incident happened around 2:04 p.m., a block away from Jonathan's home.
The police officer approached the car and asked the young man if he knew what he had done wrong. Jonathan responded with, "I do not know." The police officer followed and asked, "Can you show me your license and registration?" Jonathan reached for his license and registration from the glove compartment.
The officer said he reached too fast and it looked strange, so he shot him in the chest for self-defense. But was this really self-defense?
Now let's take a listen to 5 different perspectives of crime within media.
Exposure to crime news reports raises people's concerns about crime. In today's society, we are extremely influenced by the media, so what we see on the news is important. Media and news reports similar to this one have often urged people to believe that African Americans are often targeted and treated differently by police. Because of this media exposure, more people now realize when race-based crimes take place. Incidents in media coverage like this often lead people to be more aware of police brutality when it occurs.
The level of seriousness of a crime in society is greatly exaggerated by the media. In this incident, it was exaggerated in many ways. Sources or news departments often exaggerate things due to exciting the reader or the viewer. There is a common saying in media that if it bleeds, it leads. If it is a violent crime or some related story, more viewers will watch it. Due to exaggeration, this causes many people to stress out. The news does not help out with that at all. It does focus on positive things, but mostly focuses on more negative. Approximately 81% of Americans can access some form of media for daily news coverage. Also, people end up talking to one another about what they have seen in the news. This kind of exaggeration can play a big role in what people say they know about an incident. Opinions can go a long way.
Crimes against white are given more attention by the media than crimes against people of color. There are 160 million more whites than African Americans in the United States. Even with the extreme differences, African Americans account for 24% of the deaths, despite being only 13% of the population. 4% of those deaths are caused by interactions with cops. This is probable to the crime because it did not get a lot of media coverage. A lot of crimes dealing with an African American male are not noticed by the media and are set aside. Many people believe that the police officer had probable cause for his actions, however, many believe he did not.
Depiction of crime in the media is very influential. Often there are distorted representations of crime which shape how we view criminals, crime, and respond to a given criminal act. Often in the media, at least in this day and age, there have been many racially charged crimes and police brutality crimes we have witnessed. Through seeing so many repeated criminal acts, we have been socially constructed to respond in a certain way. We often feel outraged and that the suspect discussed in the media needs to be punished, even though there may be very little evidence to convict them. We have become immune to feel that who we may think is the bad guy is to be punished. Without a doubt, this news report we just heard is a very common story we see every day. As much as we may see it, we have all been able to form our own opinions about the situation and assess it ourselves, even if we do not receive all the facts. In this case, it is easy for us to assume the officer is at fault and unfairly killed an African American man because of how we have been influenced by the media.
The media overrepresents people of color as criminals and criminal suspects. In this case, the police officer assumed that the guy was going to possibly pull a gun or any other act of violence, perchance, while reaching for his registration. Because he was a different color, the wrong hypocritical idea was given to the officer, so he shot him. Police are killing black people at a far greater rates than any other race. Media is a big reason to society's bad reputation of white officers because this type of situation happens quite often. Although the officer truly believed he was following his duty, society recognizes the situation as the officer just being racist. Because of this crime, people are at a disagreement on what really happened.
Now that we have heard from different perspectives, we can clearly see how crime is displayed within the media.
The different perspectives that we covered were exaggeration, victim bias, racism, punitive, and influential. All of these topics connect to crime with the media because they all exemplify characteristics of law enforcement and how it is portrayed.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's segment on crime within media. Can't wait to see you next week.